Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from MaliciousCompliance. Story 1 is by Bobber18. Boss insisted I work in the office today. My boss and I had a disagreement about working from home this week. The office is in San Francisco. I live in the East Bay and need to cross the Bay Bridge to get to work. We had an important presentation scheduled today. I wanted to do it virtually because the APEC meeting is in San Francisco this week and everything seems disrupted. President Biden and Chinese President Xi are here. It's a 2-hour commute on a typical day, and I told my boss it might not be feasible to come in this week. He insisted I come in, so I said okay, but don't blame me if I get stuck in traffic. We had a pretty heated discussion about it. So today, there's a huge backup on every freeway towards the Bay Bridge because protesters have chained themselves across all 5 lanes. The bridge is completely closed. Now the boss wants me to do the presentation virtually, but I told him I can't. I'm stuck in traffic. I can't operate my vehicle and do the presentation. You will have to do it without me. But he really isn't qualified. I'm actually really surprised that you informed him of what was going to be happening, and he didn't say, yeah, we should do this virtually because there's going to be too much of a traffic problem. Down in the comments by Bone420, remember when I told you this would be a problem? And then it became a problem. And since I told you, it's your problem now. They wrote it in such a way that it looks like a poem. I was kind of expecting it to rhyme, but it doesn't. Underneath that by Griever114. Sadly, most bosses I've dealt with would have said, why didn't you leave at 2 or 3 in the morning to avoid the traffic? And I have had that said to me when foreign nationals were in town. Our next story today is by Dullluck8921. You, a senior citizen military veteran, can handle my hyperactive 7-year-old? Be my guest. This happened years ago with myself, a friend, my then boyfriend, and his daughter. We couldn't do much for toys in this particular Christmas, but our family was nominated for an event called Shop with a Veteran. It's where kids get to go to a Walmart with a veteran and can pick out their own Christmas gifts with a set amount of money donated by civilians and other veterans. The thing is, only the veteran can go in with them. I'd later found out that it was because some parents earlier had tried to persuade their kids to get things that were more catered to the parents or another child instead of the child who was nominated. I can definitely understand the rule being enforced for this, but some children should have their parents with them. My boyfriend's daughter was diagnosed with severe ADHD and had taken her medication, but she had gotten very excited when she found out about going to get Christmas gifts of her choosing. We found the lady hosting and explained to her about the daughter's ADHD and how she can be a whirlwind when she gets excited, and how she doesn't like to listen to people she doesn't know. When we explained to the lady hosting the event that one of us should go with his daughter just to make sure she behaved, she understood and talked to the veteran who was going to go shopping with the daughter. He immediately argued, claiming he was tired of parents wanting to pressure their kids into getting things they didn't want, and he wanted the daughter to have a good time picking out her gift. The lady tried to explain the situation, but the veteran wouldn't hear any of it. I clearly remember him grumbling at us, I've been to war. I can handle a kid. Well, in that case. After the veteran took the daughter into the store, we saw 2 friends going in. We didn't know they'd be there, but we were happy to see them. My boyfriend caught up with them and asked one of them if they could keep an eye on the daughter and the veteran. My boyfriend then emphasized that the veteran clearly thought he could handle his daughter, so let him handle her. We waited for about an hour when the veteran returned with the daughter. She was grinning ear to ear at all the presents she was able to get. The veteran looked exhausted, like he had been through heck. He then yelled at us how the daughter was the most disrespectful brat he had ever met. How she had to touch all the toys and threw everything she wanted into the shopping cart, and she was a nightmare when he told her she couldn't have everything she picked out. My boyfriend packed his daughter's gifts in the car and then took her back inside to start our grocery shopping. We couldn't do it while she was in there with the veteran because we had to wait outside for when they were done so we could immediately take her and her gifts. Understandable, they weren't babysitters. I decided to talk to the veteran and told my boyfriend that I'd meet him inside. I asked him if he was okay. He said he was fine, but why didn't we tell him our daughter was crazy? I promptly corrected him by saying she was not crazy. I explained her ADHD to him and how we only wanted to go in with them so she would behave. We know that she knows to behave around us, school and grandma's house. How she doesn't like to listen to strangers even if we know them and she doesn't. I apologized and told him that not all parents want to go in and use this as an excuse to get their own gifts. Some genuinely just want to make sure their kids behave. Later in the store, our friend caught up with us and told us everything that happened. The daughter had run up and down the toy aisles. She kept going back and forth from the toys to the cart, throwing in anything she could get her hands on. She even screamed at the veteran when he put some of the toys back. Typical behavior when her normal authority figures aren't watching. When she was satisfied with the toys she did get, she kept asking for candy at the checkout, which she asks anyone for when we go to the store. It was amusing to us that a grizzled military veteran was outmatched by a hyperactive 7-year-old. We've since then been better off, and we donate money to this event every year and even toys for any toy drive they have. The veteran still does the event, but he's more understanding when certain children need their parents to go with them. He does get the odd pushy parent now and then, but he handles them rather than flat out denies all parents going in. I honestly think that's probably the best way to go about it. Allow the parents to go in if they say that they need to be there to make sure their child behaves. But if you're the veteran, make sure you stay near them. And anytime the kid is saying, I want this, I want that, and the parent says, no, you should maybe get this, or you should maybe get one of those, you shut that down. Say, no, you're here to make sure your kid behaves. You don't suggest any gifts that they can get. Down in the comments by AppropriateRip9996. I took my nephew to Toys R Us once. It was a nightmare. I had no experience with kids. Logic did not work. Asserting authority did not work. Threats did not work. Bribes did not work. Tantrums were fierce. We could not exit the place without a full meltdown. I could not negotiate the highs and lows he was experiencing. We thought it would be a fun visit. It was terrible. Never again. The nephew did not have ADHD, just a normal kid who probably needed his parents in that environment. Speaking of Toys R Us, I saw this video the other day of this guy who was shopping at the store, and for some reason somebody was filming him, so it made me think that it might have been staged, but he had this young daughter that was kind of skipping along at his side, and they were rounding the corner and there was a Toys R Us there. But he picked his daughter up and he put his hands over her eyes and ran past the store, and then he got past the store and set her down and they continued walking. But how many of you guys remember being a little kid and seeing all these amazing, awesome little toys that they had out front for you to try and play with? It was to lure you in to shop, but still, I used to love going to toy stores. Underneath that comment by Blackbird Bluebird 17, little kids also absolutely know when they're being watched by adults who don't understand how to handle them and put down boundaries, and how to take advantage. When I was a kid and my cool aunt and uncle came to babysit, my sister and I knew we could always talk them into buying some toys our parents had already told us we couldn't have. Little kids are manipulative. And underneath that by Scarf Knitter, I am an aunt, and I proactively look up cool toys that their parents aren't going to be super thrilled about. I love spoiling them. And yes, I did see the kiddo sneak the candy into the cart. I am denying all knowledge at this time. Also, I stopped them from sneaking other candy in that we had a chat about. You can have the candy, but I was going to get us a different treat after shopping. Do you want the other treat instead of this candy? Sounds like that's a very experienced aunt. Do you want this special secret thing, or do you want this candy now? Our last story today is by GodNessie4. Colleague thinks she's the big boss, but actual boss said no overtime, no matter what. This happened a few years ago. I was working for a company doing special projects that had to do with building certain products. One Friday evening, I get a call from CFO. This guy never called me before, so I didn't even know he had my number, who liked playing at project management sometimes. He tells me there's been a huge F-up in a project, and I asked him if it was a project I was involved in. No, it had nothing to do with me, and they desperately needed people to come in on Saturday and Sunday and work because this project had to be delivered to the customer on Monday morning, and would I be able to go? I say sure. In this company, any work done on Saturday and Sunday was overtime from the first minute, and the overtime rate was really good. He told me I would be joining 5 of my colleagues, almost all of them a delight to work with, and one more person that is also a colleague but has all the information regarding this project, so she would lead it and tell us what needs to be done. Let's call her Genius Boss Lady, or Genius in short. Everybody working on this project has at least 3 years experience in the company. Some have more than 10, so there wasn't any need for a babysitter. This fact matters for the rest of the story. Saturday morning rolls around and I get to location. We all meet and have some coffee and homemade cookies that my wife made for us. Genius comes in, asks us to gather around, and explains that this project was done wrong from the get-go. The company spent hundreds of man-hours on it and it was done all wrong, and we 5 have to, in 2 days' work, not only disassemble everything that was done, but redo it from scratch in the correct manner, which not only involved putting it back together, but also refabricating the parts that were done wrong. Then she goes on to say in these exact words, "I'm the boss, you do what I say. I have all the schematics in my head. If you don't know something, ask me and I'll tell you how to do it." We all look at each other with a puzzled look, but just shrug our shoulders, and then she quickly, and I mean quickly, laid down some rules that she wants us to follow. Stupid things that just interfere with our jobs, but no one actually caught all of them. So we start working. We work in another facility that the company owns, and we're brought here specifically to fix this facility's F-up. All through the job, Genius does nothing except get in our way, asking stupid questions, drinking coffee, taking smoking breaks, treating people badly, and making up stupid rules as she goes. At some point, the CFO comes in and starts talking to me. In the conversation, he says these words: "No matter what, no one works overtime, no more than 12 hours a day, no matter what." Because it's a Saturday, the rules allow us to work up to 12 hours, but more than that and the company can get fined. Genius promises the CFO that the job will be done, no matter what, within these 2 days of 12 hours. Saturday's work is done. After 12 hours, we all say goodbye and leave, coming back the next day. We get to work again with her making the atmosphere worse and worse by the minute, not trusting us when we say we're going to do something, hovering over us, and generally being a nuisance. As the day goes on, we can see that we're not going to make it on time. We try to tell her, but she is adamant that this will be done on time. I tried to explain to her a few times that seeing how much work there is and insisting we do not use automated tools, it's not possible to finish this in the 5 or 6 hours we have left. There was a lot more crap that she pulled, but I won't name all of it to save some time on this already long story, and maybe try to keep a bit of anonymity just in case someone recognizes this story. She won't hear it. She says the job will be done. I'm like, whatever, dude, I'm just gonna do what I can since you won't listen. 1 hour before end of day comes around, we all have been working for 11 hours. Genius finally realizes this isn't going to work. She calls a real project manager, her friend, and starts talking to him. I hear her talking on the phone, and she is blaming all of us for not working fast enough or whatever, and tells him she promised the CFO to have this done. I'm assuming she was betting on riding this success into a promotion or something, and she doesn't know what to do. Then she walks out of the building and continues talking out of earshot. After a few minutes of conversation, she comes back in, all guns blazing, and telling us to round up again so she can talk to us with fire in her eyes. She goes, "Okay, you," she points at a guy, "don't leave until this," points at another part of the project, "is done. You," points at me, "don't leave until that," another part, "is done." And continues doing this until she's counted off everybody, and then she walks off. I'm assuming for a coffee or smoke break or whatever. Cue malicious compliance. Exactly 12 hours after arriving, we put all our tools down and start heading out the door. She is shocked, asking us, "Where are you going?" We all say, "We're going home. We've been here for 12 hours. She says, "I told you that none of you leave until your parts are finished and tested." To which we reply, "No more than 12 hours, no matter what," and we leave. Later on, I found out that she stayed by herself until 4 in the morning to finish it all by herself. She couldn't do it and had to go home as well. Her project manager friend came in on Monday morning to help her finish the job. The project was late, customer came in to pick it up and wasn't happy to see it still not packaged and ready to go. Just as a side note, with the exception of Genius, I've known each of these people working on this project for a few years. All of them would gladly have stayed longer to help finish the project. they have done so many times in the past when called upon, if she didn't treat us so badly. We made sure to make management aware of this, and she was never given another opportunity to manage anything. In a lot of the stories that I've read, there's managers who manage, and that's it, or they'll micromanage and hover manage you, but they don't actually sometimes help. And then there's managers who, when they realize things are behind, will just roll up their sleeves and get in there and help. And what is this about her having all the schematics in her head? Why aren't there printed out schematics that everybody can look at? I guess if you've made 1,000 of something, everybody would know how to do it and wouldn't need to see a schematic, but it just seems so strange to me that they wouldn't just print it out. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a perfect day.